The cool March breeze lightly grazed Sue Wan's skin the moment she got off her plane in S City. With the breeze against her skin, she felt a sudden warmth enveloping her. It was nearly 11 p.m., but the streets in S City were still brightly lit and crowded with people. Sue Wan was astonished as she stood on the bridge, looking at the tall buildings surrounding her. She had stayed in S City for 18 years. It had only been 3 years that she had not seen the city, and she felt a strangeness as if generations had passed. Sue Wan took a deep breath. She tightened the light purple scarf around her neck and called the hotel she had reserved for herself earlier. "Hello, is this Lifetime Affinity Hotel? I'm Miss Sue. I've reserved room 3 yesterday. I'll be arriving soon. Could you please have it cleaned up?" "Of course." Sue Wan ended the call calmly, yet there was a sense of loneliness in her appearance. Looking at the ripples made by the running water under the moonlight below the bridge, Sue Wan sighed. She and her parents were once regular passers-by of this bridge, but now nothing had changed but the people. She did not inform anyone of her return from Dongchen country, perhaps because she didn't want to disturb her grandparents. Her time of arrival was pretty late, and if her grandparents were to receive her that night, Sue Wan would be worried. So she pre-reserved the hotel room and thought that she would pack her things before returning to her house, which she had not seen for years. Just as Sue Wan turned around, ready to hail a taxi, she saw a man in a black windbreaker walking toward her. He was tall and his body was swaying a little. Was this man drunk? Sue Wan blinked, feeling uncertain. The man swept past her and walked quickly toward the railings on the bridge. His body started to rise and fall severely. From Sue Wan's perspective, the man looked as if he was going to jump down the river. Based on the windbreaker he was wearing, he looked like he was from a well-to-do family. Was he heartbroken? Although Sue Wan did not think of herself as Mother Mary, she couldn't bring herself to ignore if someone was about to commit suicide in front of her. Sue Wan frowned slightly and dashed anxiously toward the man. "Mister, don't take things too hard. Maybe I can help you." Just when Sue Wan wanted to continue consoling and advising the man in black, she saw that the man was not committing suicide, but rather, he was taking off his black windbreaker. Under the windbreaker was a properly ironed, smoky gray shirt. The man threw his black windbreaker into the river. Sue Wan heard the splashing of water upon the falling of the clothing into the river. What was the man trying to do? Before Sue Wan could get an answer, her wrist was tugged by someone. Sue Wan's brain froze when the tall man's shadow towered over her. By the time she realized something was not right and tried to resist, she had been forced to the railings on the lower part of the bridge. The man held her tightly. As both their sizes and strengths differed greatly, Sue Wan couldn't even fight back. Could it be that this man was not trying to commit suicide, but was using drunkenness as his excuse to molest her instead? No wonder he threw his outer coat away. She had only been away for 3 years, and she had not expected the public order in S City to be this terrible. Years ago, there were no ruffians around even in the middle of the night. Sue Wan's body froze. An alarm within her was triggered. She raised her head, and that moment, her eyes met a pair of glimmering eyes. They were a pair of beautiful, flawless eyes, with a clear distinction between their black and the white. The edges of the eyes slanted up slightly, and the dark pupils were calm like a deep ocean. Sue Wan was slightly surprised. This man's handsome appearance was on a level she had rarely seen. He looked at her from above. His good-looking brows knitted together, and he focused on Sue Wan, as if he could only see her and nobody else in the world. His lips, however, had a sense of coldness and heartlessness. Sue Wan had seen many good-looking people from a young age. Her own appearance was one praised by many since she was young. When she was in a high school, her fiancé, Gu Ziheng, was known as the most handsome male in the school due to his good looks, and both of them were a perfect match. She had seen different handsome blonde guys overseas. When she was studying, she even had suitors from different countries, but Sue Wan only liked Chinese guys with black hair and dark eyes. Coupled with her love for her fiancé, she was not easily swayed. However, no man could compare to this man who was grabbing her hand, not even her fiancé, whom she had been in love with for over 20 years. All of them lost to him in terms of appearance and aura. Judging from his overall demeanor and expensive clothing, how could he be a local ruffian who hurt girls in the middle of the night? Soo-won hesitated and gave up struggling. "Miss, please help me." The stranger spoke in a low yet cold voice. His voice was soft, but it was so pleasant that it could take one's breath away. It was like the first flower blooming in the cold night, with a silent enchantment. Soo-won was a person who liked a man for his voice. She recalled the reason she was attracted to Gu Ziheng. Besides being her childhood sweetheart, it was because he had the voice of a broadcaster. She was used to hearing English for 3 years when she was overseas. Now, Soo-won was dumbfounded listening to his fluent Mandarin. What help did he want from her? Without giving Soo-won time to prepare, the man with extraordinary handsome looks and a pleasant voice kissed her. The man took her into his embrace snugly, giving her no space to move. The man's lips were cold, and his piercingly cold breath slowly invaded Soo-won's lips. As her grandfather was not in good health, their house was always filled with the smell of Chinese medicine. Hence, Soo-won was very sensitive to smells. There was neither the smell of alcohol nor cigarettes on this man's body. Rather, his breath was clean and cold. Soo-won froze. All she could do was widen her almond eyes. The initial thoughts in her brain had all turned to ashes. This man, whom she had just met, had taken away her first kiss that she had been saving for over 20 years. No matter how good-looking he was, this was detestable. Soo-won's face darkened. She quietly raised her leg and was about to kick the man's private parts. However, the man had expected her gesture, and so he pressed his body against hers on the railing. His kiss intensified, as if trying to snatch her breath away. What a shameless man. Soo-won's face grew red. The two of them were tightly pressed to one another. She felt all her breath being drawn away, and she was almost out of breath. Just when Soo-won was almost out of breath, 7 to 8 burly chaps in black appeared suddenly on the streets. The leader's face had a long, terrifying scar. The few fierce-looking burly men were looking around, as if searching for something or someone. The sharp eyes of the leader with the scar swept across Soo-won. When he saw Soo-won, who was almost out of breath, he turned his head and instructed his followers decisively. "He's injured. He shouldn't be far. Maybe he's just in front. Let's go after him." Soo-won shivered when the eyes of the burly man with the scar swept across her. From his eyes, she sensed a thirst for blood. These men came in full fury and didn't look like good people. Who were they looking for? Never had she expected that S-City's public order would get worse than ever before in just 3 years. First, there was the kissing rogue, then there was the burly man with the scar. Just as Soo-won shuddered in fear, the 7 to 8 fierce-looking men had run forward. After a short while, they were out of sight. Soo-won, who was on tenterhooks, finally relaxed and let out a sigh of relief. She then realized she was still in the embrace of the shameless man and couldn't break loose. She glared fiercely at the man holding her. However, her misty eyes had no lethality, but instead, they were luring and tempting. When he realized that Soo-won did not know how to breathe when kissing, the handsome man slowly let go of her. Once Soo-won regained her freedom, she took 2 steps backward immediately. While she stared alertly at the man not far from her, she gasped for air. This was the first time Soo-won felt blessed to be able to breathe. The man relaxed when he saw Soo-won recovering from her shortness of breath. He began to explain, "I'm sorry, Although the man's voice was the type Soo-won liked, her face turned dark when she thought of what he did to her. If an apology could settle everything, what would be the use of the police? Soo-won glared furiously at the man. She was thinking if she should step on him with her high heels or give him 2 tight slaps before sending him to the police station, so as to let him know she was not a person to mess with. Just as Soo-won was contemplating how to settle the score with this shameless guy, the man fell to the ground without warning. Soo-won was shocked, but at the same time, she was suspicious. She had suffered loss just a while ago and had regained her alertness. Soo-won took out the water tumbler from her bag and carefully walked closer toward the man. If the man was pretending, she would give him a deadly blow. Beyond Soo-won's expectations, the man had really fainted. Soo-won frowned as she looked at the man on the ground. Under the moonlight, his handsome face appeared to be more likable. Due to the abrupt incident which happened earlier, Soo-won had only noticed the man's good looks then, but now that she had regained her rationality, she realized how extraordinarily pale the man looked. Even his lips were pale. A strange thought came flashing through Soo-won's mind. Could he be the one the burly men were looking for? Did he throw away his outer coat and force a kiss on her to cover his face to keep himself alive? Looking at the unconscious man, Soo-won's expression deepened. She half squatted to support the man, but suddenly her hand felt wet and warm. She looked at her hand. Oh God, there was blood on her hand. Was it the man's blood? Soo-won looked gloomy and realized she had gotten herself into trouble. She was just an innocent passerby, and although he was compelled against his wish to kiss her, she had indeed lost her first kiss because of him. Once the group of men in black realized that something wasn't right, they might return any time. Should she ignore him? If she were to interfere in this matter, she might lose her life. In a trance, Soo-won recalled the scene 3 years ago when she was sitting outside the operation theater with tears in her eyes, waiting anxiously for her parents' fate. In the end, all she got was the doctor's apology. "I'm sorry, we have tried our best. If the patients were sent here earlier, perhaps we could have rescued them, but the best timing had passed." That year, her parents had met with an accident, and the driver had fled. The closed-circuit television at the place of accident was out of service, so they were not able to find the driver till now. The passers-by were afraid of getting themselves into trouble, and no one was willing to call for an ambulance. At the thought of her sad past, Soo-won closed her eyes. Then, she made up her mind to save the man. She took off her outer coat to drape over the man's body. Very quickly, she walked to the street to hail a taxi. After getting a taxi, Soo-won dragged the man into the car with all her might. The taxi driver was friendly. Through the rear-view mirror, he looked at Soo-won and the man draped with an outer coat who was leaning against her, deep in sleep. "Miss, is your boyfriend drunk?" The driver struck a conversation. Soo-won was tidying the man's clothes to avoid his blood from staining the taxi. Upon hearing what that driver said, Soo-won's forehead creased. Her boyfriend. This man was not her boyfriend. However, in this situation, Soo-won could not deny it and had to force a smile to reply. "Yes, he drank too much today and fell just now. His knees are bleeding now." As if sensing Soo-won's dissatisfaction, the man leaned closer against her and found himself a comfortable position, with his hands around her waist and his head on her soft thighs. The man had fainted but could still hug her. It was beyond her expectations. He indeed had the character of a hooligan. Owing to their current identity as a courting couple coupled with his injury, Soo-won did not push the man aside. However, Soo-won disliked close encounters with strangers. As she could not push him aside, her heart was filled with suppressed grievance. All she could do was to try to part the man's arms, but he shamelessly hugged her tighter. Just then, they came to a halt at the traffic light. The driver saw Soo-won's little gesture and advised her, "You youngsters should have more self-control and not go to disco bars. If you do not like your boyfriend to drink so much alcohol, try to convince him." Soo-won nodded and answered him gloomily. Then she called the hotel front desk. "Hello, I'm Miss Soo of room 3. Could you please get someone to buy some medicine for wounds? I'll pay double the price." The reason she brought him back to the hotel and not the hospital was because it was too late and she didn't know the man's identity. If she were to bring him to the hospital, how would she explain their relationship? The receptionist at the hotel front desk instantly agreed when she heard Soo-won's willingness to pay double the price. "We have arrived, please pay." Upon the driver's reminder, Soo-won raised her head and saw Lifetime Affinity Hotel in front of her. Soo-won took some money out of her purse and dragged the unconscious man out of the car with all her might. She supported him with her body and limped toward the hotel. Lifetime Affinity Hotel's bellboy was waiting for Soo-won to pay him double the price of the medicine. When he saw her, he helped her support the man. Although the man was unconscious, he grabbed Soo-won's hand tightly and did not want to let go, just like a child reluctant to leave his toys. This shameless guy is detestable. At that moment, Soo-won became gloomier. After all the trouble, the bellboy managed to drag the man away from Soo-won's body. As he did that, he teased, "Miss Soo, your boyfriend is reluctant to part with you." Here was another person who regarded this shameless guy as her boyfriend. Soo-won was almost breathless and could only smile vaguely. She even had to talk to the bellboy in a gentle manner to get him to help bring the man to her room. After laying the man down, the bellboy skimmed through the man's appearance, and his eyes showed a deep uncertainty. Watching the bellboy focusing his vision on the man, Soo-won's heart skipped a beat. Could this man be an escaped criminal? Had she put forth so much effort into rescuing a big bad wolf? He could be a wolf in sheep's clothing. Just as Soo-won was feeling suspicious, the bellboy smiled. "Miss Soo, your boyfriend's appearance matches yours, but I think he looks familiar, like someone I've seen in some magazine." A surge of emotion welled up within Soo-won upon realizing someone could identify him. She blurted, "He didn't appear in some online arrest kind of police magazine, did he?" "Haha, Miss Soo, you are funny. How would I read that kind of magazine?" The bellboy halted, then he tilted his head a little to think. "It should be a fashion magazine, as my little sister likes to buy fashion magazines. Maybe your boyfriend looks like a celebrity. He's very good looking." Soo-won nodded disappointedly and closed the door after the bellboy left. After taking a few steps out of the room, something flashed through the bellboy's mind. He suddenly recalled where he had seen this handsome man. Wasn't he the extraordinary handsome man who had appeared on the cover of the Aristocrat magazine that his little sister had bought just a few days ago? He could still remember how his sister was obsessed with him. According to his sister, he was the new CEO of Dai Chen Group, the most eligible bachelor in S-City, and could even be known as the king of the business world. However, there was a rumor that this CEO kept a distance from women. His sexual orientation seemed different, causing his little sister to be sad. At the thought of this, the bellboy wanted to inform Soo-won, but her room door had been shut. Then the bellboy thought carefully again. Lifetime Affinity Hotel was a lower-class hotel, and the talented genius of Dai Chen Group would never step in here. At this thought, he turned around and left. On the other hand, Soo-won had missed the opportunity to know the man's true identity. Looking at the unconscious man, Soo-won sighed and went to get a basin of warm water. After that, Soo-won carefully removed the man's shirt and was shocked when she saw the bleeding wound on his back. This man had such strong willpower to be able to endure till now. Her initial indignation for being molested had been suppressed. She started to clean the man's wound, first with hydrogen peroxide solution, then with saline to reduce inflammation. After cleaning, the man's back did not look too terrifying anymore. Soo-won let out a sigh of relief. Soo-won then wiped his wound with an iodophore cotton swab and covered his wound with sterilized gauze. Lastly, she bandaged the wound carefully. When the bandage went around the man's abdomen, Soo-won saw his good figure and couldn't help but gasp in admiration. Soo-won liked neither men with huge muscles nor men who were overly skinny. This man looked tall, but his skin was firm. He was obviously someone who worked out. Wasn't this the legendary, slender when clothed and buff when unclothed? While Soo-won was bandaging his wound, the man could feel the pain but made no noise. Instead, he bit his lip gently to endure the pain. The strong willpower of this man had unconsciously become the subject of admiration for Soo-won, so her earlier dislike towards this man was slowly fading. However, Soo-won was in a dilemma after nursing his upper body. She didn't know if the man's lower body was injured. The man was wearing a pair of black and expensive trousers. She couldn't make out if he was injured. Perhaps he was hurt, but it wasn't as serious as his back. Just as Soo-won was about to give up on the idea of checking his lower body and seek the bell boy's help, she clenched her teeth and decided she would do it herself. She thought she could do this as she had gone overseas for 3 years of liberal education, although she dared not go for life drawing sessions when her friend had invited her. Doctors care for their patients like how parents care for their children. Now that she was taking the role of a doctor, she should not have gender discrimination toward this patient. Soo-won laid the man on the bed and carefully climbed up the bed. She knelt beside him to avoid pressing on his wounds. Soo-won calmed herself down and made up her mind to stretch her hand toward the man's trouser zipper. The man's trouser zipper was narrow, unlike the zipper on jeans. Soo-won couldn't help but sigh. She was sweating as she was nervous and wiped away her sweat on her forehead. Before touching the zipper, she pulled back her hand. It was just a simple gesture of unzipping. What was there to be afraid of? He was just an unconscious patient. How could he do anything towards her? Soo-won scolded herself for being useless. Then, she stretched out her hand again, but her hand was trembling, making her feel defeated. It was merely a small distance, but Soo-won put forth lots of effort to convince herself. Finally, when her hand was about to touch the zipper, Soo-won felt like she was about to reach the coast of success. "What are you doing?" The man who had just awoken from fainting and had not regained all his senses opened his eyes and saw a sight that startled him. The woman whom he forced a kiss on earlier was kneeling beside him. Her head was down, showing off her beautiful side profile, and her slender hand was about to touch his trouser zipper. From his angle, he could see the woman's indistinct light blue camisole straps and her delicate collarbone. When he looked downward a little, he could see a bit of her breast. The man's eyes darkened and deepened endlessly. The sudden question caught Soo-won, who was preparing herself mentally, unaware. She raised her head and saw the man. He was now conscious, and his eyes were on her. His extravagantly beautiful eyes were a pair that no one dared to look straight into. Looking at that pair of eyes, Soo-won was filled with a guilty conscience. "Ah!" she shouted and moved her hand away. However, because she was nervous, in a flurry, Soo-won lost her balance and fell directly on top of the man's body. Her lips touched his lower jaw. Soo-won's cheeks turned red instantly, and all of a sudden, the blood rushed to her face. That was it. She had reached the peak of her embarrassment. For a moment, Soo-won felt the man's body stiffen under hers, while his emotions were not quite right. Soo-won's wailed internally. She thought she had pressed on his wounds. She got up quickly and kept apologizing. "Ah, I'm sorry, did I hurt you? Is your wound all right?" As Soo-won got up abruptly, the hair framing her face was messy, and her lapels were drawn apart, showing even more of a beautiful scene. If it were not for the wrong occasion and wrong character, the man would definitely have thought that Soo-won was using some crude means to try to seduce him. In the past, many pretty women had seduced him in this manner, but now, the man knew very well that Soo-won did not have that intention. But D***MN. Why did he feel that this dumb woman had loveliness he couldn't resist? The man's eyes deepened. Soo-won saw that he did not utter a single word and thought she might have hurt him, so she couldn't help but add, "I did not do it on purpose. Did the wound on your back split?" The man ignored Soo-won's question. "Were you the one who nursed me earlier?" When he was unconscious, he could faintly feel someone applying medicine for him carefully, and the person had been quite skilled. Although it was a question, it sounded composed and undoubtful when asked by this man. This man was used to talking in a superior manner and was like the moon surrounded by a myriad of stars. Soo-won was stupefied. Then she nodded and her cheeks were slightly warm. She started to explain, "I was worried your lower body was injured as well, so I thought." The man was startled when he heard what she said and quickly restored his calmness. "You mean you wanted to unzip my trousers to check if I was injured? That won't be necessary. Only my back was injured." She had not even unzipped them. Why did his words sound like she had her heart set on him? Su Wan cursed deep down in her heart. Why did she feel she was kind enough to rescue him and was not respected but instead was looked down upon by him? The man could sense Su Wan's dissatisfaction, but he thought he had the duty to remind this woman who had no self-awareness. The man cleared his throat and brought Su Wan's attention back. He tactfully hinted to her, "Your blouse, should you fix it a little?" "What's wrong with my blouse?" Su Wan looked at the man's mischievous lips, not understanding what he meant, but at the same time, a sense of foreboding arose within her. Su Wan lowered her head and saw that her blouse was messed up, exposing the view within. That moment, Su Wan was going crazy. If there were a crack line on the ground, Su Wan would have definitely dashed toward it and hide in it so no one could see her. Oh God, this man must be her jinx. Until Su Wan was done fixing her blouse, the man's curved lips remained unchanged. This was the first time he found watching one's changing emotions pleasant to the eye. Su Wan saw his smirk and wished he could get out of the room. "What are you laughing at? I saved your life today. Do you treat your lifesaver with this attitude of yours?" "That's right, you did save my life." The man looked up and paused. His smile deepened. He deepened his voice purposefully and murmured, "What about repaying you with my body?" Su Wan's face burnt red like cooked shrimps. She grabbed the pillow beside the bed and threw it at him, not bothering if he was injured, and said, "Yeah, you wish. I have a fiancé." Upon hearing this, the man's eyes sank in a flash and the room became silent. Su Wan felt delighted, as she thought her remarks had rendered the man speechless. However, the man smiled slightly, and his cello-like low, deep voice could be heard, ruining Su Wan's good mood. "You don't even know how to breathe while kissing. That was your first kiss, wasn't it? You're lying about having a fiancé. Don't deceive yourself and others." The mention of this fueled Su Wan's anger. It took her some time to finally think the man was pleasing to the eye, and now, the mention of the forced kiss brought back her initial impression of him as a shameless guy. Her first kiss, which she had saved for over 20 years, had been stolen just like that by a stranger. How could she not feel dejected? The way the man put it sounded as if he was an expert in kissing. Looking at his face, he must have hurt many young ladies. To be forced into kissing by this kind of man was disgusting. The muscles on her face twitched as Su Wan glared at him angrily. "That's right, playboys like you are experts in kissing. The thought of being kissed by you makes me sick. My fiancé is much better than you are. He loves me wholeheartedly. He has great knowledge, good looks, and he is thoughtful." When she thought of her fiancé, Gu Ziheng, her anger reduced, and finally, she smiled and started to recall the warm and sweet time they spent together. Looking at Su Wan's happy expression, the man's heart felt a pinch of pain. She did sound like she had a fiancé. Actually, this was his first kiss, too. He had always thought falling in love was stupid, but why did this woman seem happy? "Enough," the man interrupted Su Wan's thoughts. "Pass me your mobile phone." "Why do you want my mobile phone?" Su Wan took her phone out from her bag, but held it tightly in her hand. She looked alertly at the man, but in just a few seconds, her phone was snatched by the man. This man's speech and actions were domineering. How could he treat her like his subordinate? Su Wan was indignant. She wanted to get her mobile phone back, but saw the man keying in his contact number in her phone without asking for her permission. Su Wan was furious. She initially thought the man had wanted to make a call, but never had she thought that the man would be that rude. "Hey, did I ask you to key in your contact number? Give me back my phone." The man took a glance at Su Wan and said faintly, "This is my contact number. You've saved my life. Since you do not want me to repay you with my body, you may come and look for me if you think of any suitable repayment in the future. I'll do as you wish." Su Wan couldn't bear looking at his arrogance. Coupled with her making a fool of herself because of him, she said sarcastically, "Do you think you can get rid of me with just an empty promise? If you think your life is precious, what if I ask for 5 million Chinese yuan?" 5 million Chinese yuan would be enough to stop him from boasting, Su Wan thought to herself. However, to Su Wan's surprise, The man was calm and answered while looking at her. Sure. Did the man just say sure? Had she misheard? 5 million Chinese yuan was a huge amount. Even a billionaire would not hand out 5 million to just anyone, would he? He must not mean it. Anyway, she wouldn't ask for the money as there was no proof, since it was merely a conversation between the two of them. The man keyed in a few numbers on Su Wan's phone without paying any mind to her skeptical look. He then started giving instructions through the phone. See, I'm fine. Please tell Grandpa to be extra careful. Some people have started to take action, perhaps due to the recent anti-ruffian force in S City. By his talking manner through the phone, he seemed to have the demeanor of an arbiter. This man looked young. What was his identity that got him into a fatal disaster? The man took a glance at Su Wan, who was deep in thought, and continued. It's late now. See, you don't have to pick me up today. Come tomorrow morning and remember to bring me my clothes and a set of ladies' clothes. Why did he ask to bring a set of ladies' clothes? Su Wan was stupefied. It couldn't be for her, could it? Was it compensation for staining her coat with blood? This man was thoughtful. Su Wan felt a warm current flowing in her heart. At the same time, on the other end of the phone, Si was at a loss. His young master didn't usually come into contact with ladies, but today, he seemed different from his usual self, and it looked like he was going to spend the night with a woman. From a young age, he had accompanied the young master, and all this while, he had never seen him taking a fancy to any woman. If Senior Madam were to know about this, she would definitely think her grandson had the idea straightened out and would want him to bring the girl to meet them. Si lamented. Senior Madam had been concerned about young master's marriage, but he was like a rock, cold and hard, and did not understand her wish to have great-grandchildren. After the man's instruction, he shoved the phone back to Su Wan without bothering about his subordinate's rare nosiness. Su Wan looked at her phone and saw a new name appearing among her few contacts, and the name had been put on top on purpose. Jiang Zucheng. The name sounded familiar, as if she had heard it somewhere. Su Wan felt an irresistible impulse to make fun of him, although she knew it was childish. Your name is Jiang Zucheng? Your name matches your personality. Zucheng means a city built with snow in Chinese, and it's exactly like you, cold and boring. The man named Jiang Zucheng was silent for a moment, and then he smiled faintly. So, your name is Su Wan. How do you explain your name? How did you know my name? Su Wan raised her head in shock, her eyes full of doubt. Could this man read minds? Jiang Zucheng saw Su Wan's quirky expression, and his usual coldness and hardness softened. He started to explain patiently. When I fainted earlier on, I was not completely unconscious. I heard the bellboy calling you Miss Su. Then, I saw someone addressing you Wan in your message just now, so I put 2 and 2 together. Su Wan's lips moved slightly, and she wanted to ask Jiang Zucheng if he was slightly conscious in the car, and whether he laid down on her thighs on purpose. However, she couldn't bring herself to ask questions like this. Hence, she kept it in her heart. All right, it's late. Let's turn in now. Jiang Zucheng saw Su Wan's red lips parting slightly, but he did not utter a single word. Then, he couldn't help but gulp and recall her unintentional flirtatious look. Handling Jiang Zucheng's injury coupled with the pointless chatter, Su Wan finally felt tired, but the room Su Wan had reserved had only one single bed, as she did not expect the incident to happen. Although it was still spacious, there was only one place to sleep on. Su Wan touched her hair and pretended to be firm. Since you're injured, I'll let you sleep on the bed while I sleep on the floor. Jiang Zucheng pulled Su Wan over to him, and with a tone as if scolding a naughty child, he said, Don't be silly. It's cold in S City in March. You'll freeze if you sleep on the floor. The bed is spacious and can fit 2 people. Su Wan was speechless. Did he really not understand? A man and a woman staying in the same room was not very appropriate, but she had convinced herself to accept that, and now to share a bed. She was a woman with a fiancé. What if this news broke out? Sensing her dilemma, Jiang Zucheng smiled faintly. Don't worry, you don't have a woman's perfect figure. Even if I'm not injured now, I'd still be picky. You. Although she knew Jiang Zucheng was trying to put her at ease, why did these words sound irritating to the ear? She was not weak enough to lose to an injured person, was she? So she pulled a mattress and lay down on the left of Jiang Zucheng. After half an hour, Jiang Zucheng realized he had made the wrong decision. Jiang Zucheng stared at Suwan, who was fast asleep beside him. His temples twitched a little. She was an adult, and she was kicking the blanket. He found that Suwan was sound asleep. Her lips gently curved upwards. It looked as if she was having a good dream. Her limbs were not obedient, and after some kicking, she managed to kick the thin blanket off her body. The wound on his back caused Jiang Zucheng to sleep lightly. Very easily, he was awakened by the sound of Su Wan's blanket kicking. Jiang Zucheng couldn't help but sigh. He walked to the edge and gently pulled the blanket back over Su Wan's body. Due to her poor sleeping posture, Su Wan's earlocks became messy. As Jiang Zucheng had mild obsessive-compulsive disorder, he tucked the hair behind her ears. Jiang Zucheng's hand brushing her cheeks had tickled her, and she smiled unconsciously. Her long and curly eyelashes were fanned out, leaving faint shadows on her clean, jade-like face. At that moment, Jiang Zucheng realized that when Su Wan smiled, she had shallow dimples on her cheeks, and beneath her dimples were her red lips, arousing one's urge to get close to her. Jiang Zucheng stared at Su Wan, and the thought of kissing her came to his mind. He was shocked at his own thoughts. He decided not to look at Su Wan and to go back to sleep. Just as he was about to move his hand away from her cheeks, Su Wan clung onto his hand tightly. She placed his hand on her cheeks and rubbed his hands against her cheeks. Unconsciously, she said, "Don't run, little puppy, you are fun to play with." So, Su Wan had taken him for a pet in her dream. Jiang Zucheng's face darkened. He immediately withdrew his hand, but Su Wan was determined to hold on to her puppy tightly, so when he withdrew his hands, her hands went around Jiang Zucheng's waist. Jiang Zucheng, who was caught off guard, wanted to part her hands but was afraid it would wake her up with a start. At the same time, he was worried about his wound on his back. Hence, he had no choice but to allow Su Wan to do what she wanted to. Su Wan was not satisfied. She even kissed Jiang Zucheng's hand with her lips. Ripples appeared in Jiang Zucheng's dark eyes that instant. He had never thought that the night would be such a torture. All the woman had done was ignite the fire of desire in him, but never thought of putting out the fire. It was causing him such suffering. Being toyed around by Su Wan unconsciously, Jiang Zucheng's face darkened. Initially, he was not very sleepy, but now he was wide awake. Jiang Zucheng placed his hand in Su Wan's hand and slowly climbed up to the bed and lay down on his own place. Too bad, the woman was not satisfied with just holding the little puppy's hand. She turned around and hugged Jiang Zucheng tightly. Su Wan was pressed against Jiang Zucheng's arms. She found a comfortable position in his embrace and settled down, satisfied. Su Wan's soft face kept rubbing against Jiang Zucheng's back, and her sweet fragrance probed into his nose. Jiang Zucheng finally understood that such sweet but cruel torture existed in this world. That was it. Since he couldn't sleep, Jiang Zucheng opened his eyes slightly. He turned to his side and enjoyed the sight of Su Wan's charming sleeping face in his embrace until dawn. The next morning, at the break of dawn, the woman finally awoke. The moment Su Wan opened her eyes, she found herself lying in Jiang Zucheng's embrace. She cried in fear. Su Wan suddenly thought of something and swiftly lowered her head to look. Phew, the buttons on her blouse were all intact. It looked like nothing had happened last night. Jiang Zucheng looked at Su Wan when he saw her shock, followed by her gesture of checking her clothing. "Why are you screaming? Did you think I'd take things too hard and take a fancy to you? You were the one who hugged me and didn't let go. You were the one who did not behave and lay in my arms the whole night." Couldn't this man say something nice? Had he suffered loss? Come to think of it, Su Wan could recall herself hugging, touching, and kissing the little puppy. If a man had no response, He was either a gentleman or something must be wrong with him. Sensing that her thoughts had gone astray, Su-won felt a slight warmth creeping up her face as she rebutted, reluctant to show her weakness. "You are a man, don't you know how to push me away?" "I wished I could, but you were too strong, and I was afraid my wound would split." Jiang Zucheng looked coldly at Su-won, who was now blushing. He started to massage his right hand that had carried the weight of Su-won's head all night and now felt numb. When his right hand regained its senses, Jiang Zucheng continued teasing her. "I have not seen a woman with as poor of a sleeping posture as you. How could you get married?" Being hit on a sore spot, Su-won started to pull a long face. She put on her slippers and was about to enter the washroom to clean herself. Nearing the washroom, she threw him her words indignantly. "What does my poor sleeping posture have to do with you? My fiancé wouldn't mind this little thing, so I won't trouble you to care about my marriage." Upon hearing the word fiancé, Jiang Zucheng remembered that this woman was no longer available. His eyes sank and he looked down, covering up all his emotions. After both Su-won and Jiang Zucheng cleaned themselves up, they started to have their Western-style breakfast together. However, due to the unhappy arguments in the morning, both of them were silent during breakfast. Suddenly, Su-won's phone rang and broke the silence between them. She answered the call and heard a stranger's voice. "Young master, I'm here. Could you please come down?" Su-won raised her brows and shoved the phone to Jiang Zucheng. "Here, the call is for you." Su-won watched as Jiang Zucheng put down his cutlery gently. This man's dining etiquette was impeccable. It looked like he was from a family with good upbringing. He was addressed as young master. What could be his identity? After the call, Jiang Zucheng got up and smiled slightly. He then leaned closer to Su-won. What was this man doing? Before waiting for Su-won to turn her head, Jiang Zucheng got closer to her and brushed her lips with his hand. Although Jiang Zucheng's action was swift, and it was done only in the blink of an eye, it was too much for Su-won to take in. Su-won glared at Jiang Zucheng furiously. Her stance was like a fierce cat making threatening gestures. "Why did you get so close to me?" "There were bread crumbs on your lips," Jiang Zucheng explained as his long eyes rolled lightly, making his face look even more handsome. Gosh, she had just made a fool of herself in front of him. Su-won tried to weep but failed to shed a tear. She had just known this man for 2 days. How did she manage to embarrass herself more than she had in the last 20 years altogether? Jiang Zucheng swept across Su-won's remorseful look and started saying, "Go down with me." Su-won narrowed her eyes to look at Jiang Zucheng. She wasn't happy with his instructing tone. However, she recalled the man saying he would bring her a set of ladies' clothing today. So, she would treat that as compensation, and it was better than not getting anything in return for all her effort. Even if she ignored the money she spent on medicine, her heart still ached when she saw the Dior coat she rarely wore stained with the man's blood. Su-won lowered her head and trailed behind Jiang Zucheng. When they came to the main hotel entrance, Su-won was attracted to the black sports car just in front of the entrance. Su-won came from a well-to-do family, but when she saw the sports car, she marveled at its beauty. It was a Koenigsegg Agera R. This car was a limited edition sports car. Never had she expected to see it in front of a small hotel in a rural area. Who could the driver of this sports car be? Without waiting for long, the driver winded down the car window. The man's dressing was very ordinary and he was brisk, unlike the typical lot who were born with silver spoons in their mouths. It looked like some rich men kept a low profile too. After satisfying her curiosity, Su-won shifted her vision toward Jiang Zucheng and asked, "Why isn't the one who is supposed to pick you here yet?" "Isn't he in front of you?" Jiang Zucheng pursed his lips slightly. He looked even colder now. Who was he referring to? Su-won's eyes skimmed around but did not see anyone. Just then, the man who drove the Koenigsegg Agera R opened the car door and came walking toward Su-won and Jiang Zucheng. Could this man be? Su-won's eyes widened. She watched in shock as the tall man bowed respectfully to Jiang Zucheng. Young master, I've brought the things you asked me to bring. Do we depart now? Young master. So the man was Si, Jiang Zucheng's driver. It looked like Jiang Zucheng was rich. On the other side, Si was also looking at Su Wan from head to toe. He wanted to see how the woman who spent the night with his young master looked like. She was good-looking, but from her expression, she was as if. As long as his young master liked her. Heaven knows, his young master was one who kept a distance away from women. Had he gotten this all straightened out? Not bothered by his nosy subordinate, Jiang Zucheng ordered, Si, pass her the set of ladies' clothes and give her a check amounting to 5 million Chinese yuan. Si was stunned. Issue a check. Did his young master and this woman have an unexplainable story? Si immediately went back into the car to issue a check. Then, he took the check out in front of Su Wan and said respectfully, "Miss, please accept this check." Jiang Zucheng crossed his arms on his chest and watched mischievously, as if laughing at Su Wan's skepticism last night. Su Wan, on the other hand, took a glance at Jiang Zucheng and then turned to look at Si. She declined quickly. "You're Si. I met your young master by chance and the check was a joke. You don't have to take it seriously." Si's hand was still dangling in the air, and his eyes darted between Jiang Zucheng and Su Wan. Finally, seeing his young master's stern look, Si persisted genuinely. "All the more reason you should accept this." Su Wan felt cold upon hearing that. Why did she have that misconception of being thrown a check after sleeping with the overbearing CEO? However, heaven knows nothing happened last night between her and Jiang Zucheng. If she accepted this check, it meant she had a guilty conscience. So, Su Wan snatched the check from Si's hand and tore it to pieces. Seeing the bits falling from above, Si was shocked. With his widened eyes, he sought his young master's help. This woman looked petite and dainty, but to one's surprise, she was aggressive enough to tear the check into pieces. However, it was true that his young master would never take a fancy to a woman with an ordinary personality. Jiang Zucheng stood silently on one side and watched Su Wan tear the check. He raised his eyebrows and his eyes emitted coldness. He didn't utter a single word about her action. Actually, he had guessed earlier that Su Wan would not accept the check, but had not expected this woman to pick the most direct way. Su Wan saw Si's dilemma and decided to explain clearly. "I don't know what your young master has told you, but I think you've misunderstood. There's nothing between me and Jiang Zucheng. Last night, I rescued him out of kindness and may not see him again in future." Su Wan then looked at Jiang Zucheng with a serious look. "Jiang Zucheng, since I've saved your life, I hope you can keep last night's incident to yourself." Although nothing happened between them last night. If the news of them spending a night together in the same room got out, there might be some people who would gossip about it. Jiang Zucheng narrowed his eyes. His cold eyes froze and his voice was cold too. "Because of your fiancé." Sensing Jiang Zucheng's minor shift in emotions, Su Wan looked at him in the eyes and answered him without fear. "Yes, we shall go our separate ways from now on. Master Jiang, please respect yourself." Si was shocked after listening to their conversation. God, what had he heard? It was indeed hot news. His young master had spent a night with a woman, and the woman had a fiancé. Having a fiancé meant she was not married yet. If his young master were to start pursuing her, he could definitely get her. The woman sounded like she cared a lot about her fiancé, and his young master was not happy about it. Si silently prayed for Su Wan's fiancé in his heart. Just when Si was being nosy, his young master spoke. "Su Wan, this is what you've requested, so I'll do as you wish." Jiang Zucheng looked at Su Wan. His eyes curved up and the tranquility in his voice returned. However, there was a sense of distance in his eyes that had not previously been there. Jiang Zucheng turned around and walked toward the car without looking back while telling Si, "Let's go." Si walked quickly toward the car when he heard his young master calling him. When he sensed Jiang Zucheng's low body pressure, Si was stressed. He held the steering wheel and was on alert. "Where do we go now, young master?" he asked respectfully. Back to Fontainebleau. Jiang Zucheng answered with his eyes closed. Last night he was unable to sleep because of Su Wan. Now he'd better rest in the car. Asi knew the short reply implied that his young master was not in a good mood. He carefully drove along, and after 2 traffic lights, he suddenly sensed that something wasn't right. "Ah, young master, I've forgotten to pass this set of clothes to Miss Su. Do we turn back?" "It's not necessary. Throw it away." Jiang Zucheng's eyes were still shut, and his voice was still cold as usual. Asi felt a pinch. It was the first time his young master had requested for ladies' clothing, so he had purposefully chosen an expensive set. The set of clothing was the latest fashion of the season, and the price was worth 2 months of his salary. It would be a waste to throw away. Young master might not feel anything, but he couldn't bear to do it. So he thought he'd better keep it secretly. Once the Koenigsegg Agera R was out of sight, Su Wan remembered that she had not taken the set of clothing. However, she quickly calmed herself down and considered it a good deed. She had declined the 5 million Chinese yuan check, so this set of clothing was nothing to her. The most important thing was to draw a line between her and Jiang Zucheng. From his outlook, he seemed to be a rich man, but was being chased by a gang of ruffians and had even mentioned anti-ruffian in his phone conversation last night. He might be a dangerous person for all she knew. After readjusting her thoughts, Su Wan went back to the hotel room to pack her luggage and then checked out to return home. She wondered how her grandfather and grandmother were. She had not been able to look after them these 3 years and hoped they were healthy. Su Wan went out of the hotel and hailed a taxi. "To Cloud Shadow Villa, please." When the driver heard Cloud Shadow Villa, he couldn't help but give Su Wan a once-over. Cloud Shadow Villa was situated on the outskirts of S City. It was on par with Fontainebleau by the riverside. They were both high-end residential areas made for the rich. All the residences in Cloud Shadow Villa were built against the hill, surrounded by trees. Many of S City's tycoons lived there. Looking at Su Wan's dressing, the taxi driver guessed she must be a young missy from a rich family. After half an hour, they arrived at their destination. The driver stopped his car and said, "I can't drive in further. You will have to walk a few more steps." 3 years had passed, but the rules for Cloud Shadow Villa remained the same. All cars other than the residents' cars would have to stop by the foot of the hill. Su Wan smiled slightly and paid the fare. When she got down from the car, she realized the sky was turning dark. The sky was covered with dark clouds, and the air was fresh as the area was filled with plants. It looked like it might rain any time. She looked at the few hundred meters hill route and frowned. She hoped it would not rain before she arrived home, as she didn't have an umbrella with her. To avoid getting caught in the rain, Su Wan quickened her steps. After a half-turn over the hillside, she saw the words Cloud Shadow Villa. The joy of returning home filled her heart. She walked quickly toward the guardhouse, but was blocked by the guards. "Miss, you don't look like you live here. Did anyone bring you here?" Su Wan's clear eyes swept across the male security guard in his 40s and found that he was not a familiar face. Hence, Su Wan started providing him information. "I live here. My name is Su Wan, granddaughter of Su Heng, young missy of Sheng Ran Group." Su Wan thought that this introduction was detailed enough, but she did not expect the security guard to treat it as a joke. He pointed at her and laughed. "Ha ha ha, little sis. Everyone here knows that Miss Su Yuru is Mr. Su's granddaughter, and that Sheng Ran Group has been amalgamated 2 years ago. If you want to lie, please think of something better." Initially, Su Wan didn't understand, but when she heard the name Su Yuru, she pursed her lips and smiled. She was about to explain to the security guard that Su Yuru was her cousin's sister. However, before she could say anything, the security guard informed her about the amalgamation of Sheng Ran Group 2 years ago. Su Wan staggered, and she had a sudden change of expression. How could this be? Sheng Ran Group was her parents' lifetime painstaking effort. For the development of Sheng Ran, her mother had only given birth to her at the age of 35. Now that her parents were not around anymore, her grandfather definitely would not give up so easily. Su-won remembered clearly how her grandfather spoke to her in his study on the day she had gone abroad. He tapped her on the shoulder, and his tone of voice was solemn. "Won, study hard when you're abroad. I'm old now. When you return, Sheng Ran will have to depend on you. This is the inheritance from your parents. Don't let Sheng Ran be destroyed in your hands." How did she reply her grandfather that day? Su-won's eyes were slightly wet as she played back the scene of the 18-year-old girl, looking directly into her grandfather's eyes. "Grandfather, I'll return very quickly. When I return, I'll bear the responsibility and will not allow Dad and Mom's painstaking effort to be destroyed. I will foster and enhance Sheng Ran." When the security guard saw that Su-won was in a trance and staggered, he thought this girl was afraid because she had been exposed of her lie. He thought she was still young and inexperienced in bluffing. If he were to advise her, she might get back on the right track. So, the security guard did his best to try to convince her. "Little sis, you looked like a good girl and you dress well too. Why would you want to lie? Are you trying to use this to find a rich man to rely on? You are still young and there are many rich men here, but women should not just use their appearance." The security guard kept talking and brought Su-won's attention back. She wanted to ask him about the amalgamation of Sheng Ran, but when she was about to ask, she stopped. He was only a security guard at Cloud Shadow Villa Guard House. He didn't even know that she was Su Heng's granddaughter, and Sheng Ran's news might be something he simply heard about. He wouldn't know much about Sheng Ran. After returning home, she would ask her grandfather. Su-won sorted her emotions out and said genuinely to the security guard, "I'm not a swindler. Su Yuru is my cousin's sister. If you don't believe me, you may ask the Su family. Su Yuru has a sister called Su-won, hasn't she?" The security guard didn't believe Su-won's words. He shook his head and looked distressed. "Nowadays, many attempt to obtain money from rich men here by claiming to be their relatives. You're not the first. Miss, I've given you advice. Why can't you take in what I've said? You are young and beautiful. It would be better for you to get back on the right track. You'd better go home." Hearing the security guard's nagging, Su-won was speechless. She took out her phone from her bag and shook the phone in front of him. "Uncle, you've misunderstood me. I'll call my grandfather now and let someone from the Su family come and get me, all right." In Italy. She had wanted to give her grandparents a surprise, but now she had to trouble the old folks. Sigh. Su-won unlocked her phone and dialed her grandfather's number. However, to her surprise, her grandfather's line was busy. Su-won's expression froze. She dialed again and again, but still, nobody picked up her call. At first, the security guard half believed her when he saw her taking out her phone. Now that the call couldn't get through, he was sure Su-won was trying to buy time. "Miss, stop deceiving me. Go, go, go. Swindlers are not welcomed here." It looked like the heavens was messing with her. Su-won didn't know if she should be upset or laugh. The security guard was dedicated to work, and for a moment, she didn't have any strategy to enter. Just at that moment, a stunning model of a sapphire blue Infiniti sports car hurtled toward them. Under the sunlight, it reflected a harsh beam which hurt the eyes. Just when Su-won thought the car was about to knock her down, the sapphire blue Infiniti sports car stopped. The security guard knew the owner just by looking at the car. He ignored Su-won and greeted the man in the car respectfully. "Hello, Mr. Liu." The car window was rolled down, and a man with huge sunglasses entered Su-won's vision. The man was wearing a black fur coat. His hair was slightly long and was handsome. Although the sunglasses covered half of his face, from that temperament of his, he looked like a playboy. The man nodded slightly, and his eyes fell on Su-won. Although he had his sunglasses on, Su-won felt uneasy with him looking at her from head to toe. Seeing her frown, the man stared at Su-won. He smiled and asked, "Su-won, when did you come home?" Su-won was doubtful since he knew her. She probed, "I'm sorry, may I know who you are, please?" The security guard saw the two engaging in small talk and broke out in cold sweat. Could it be true that this girl wasn't a swindler? The man took his sunglasses off slowly, revealing his amorous eyes. He looked devilish. When Soo-won saw the iconic amorous eyes of his, she was startled. She then recalled who he was. He was the young master of Lu Group, Lu Qingyu. Lu Qingyu, Soo-won, and Gu Ziheng were from the same secondary school. However, Soo-won was 2 years their junior, so before she had even entered the school, she had heard of Lu Qingyu's name. She believed there weren't a second boy who could pursue every pretty girl in the school. Lu Qingyu's father was the school's chairman, and there was nothing the headmaster could do about him. Soo-won could still recall the rumors about girls who had undergone abortions for his sake. However, there were still many girls who wanted to be Lu Qingyu's girlfriend. He could see that Soo-won had recognized him. Lu Qingyu's blinked his amorous eyes and pretended to be sad. Soo-won, you're heartless. I've pursued you before, but after 3 years of being abroad, you've forgotten me. Since the day she first heard about this dangerous man, Lu Qingyu, Soo-won knew she had to keep her distance from him. What Lu Qingyu had meant by pursue was actually teasing her during high school. Playboys like Lu Qingyu would flirt with any girl with an appearance pleasant to his eyes. The girl would be brainless to take it seriously. Soo-won smiled awkwardly. Master Lu, the number of girlfriends you have is enough to form a company. How could there possibly be room for me? Lu Qingyu did not bother about Soo-won's feigned ignorance. He stared at Soo-won with his amorous eyes, which were always full of affection. So, say I lack a girlfriend now, Soo-won, will you agree to be my girlfriend? Soo-won was sick of libertines like Lu Qingyu, but now that she couldn't return home and needed his help, she couldn't ruin their relationship regardless of the situation. Master Lu, don't tease me. Anyone but you can lack girlfriends. Furthermore, you know very well that Gu Ziheng is my fiancé. Lu Qingyu smirked and with his low, deep, bewitching voice said, Really? Gu Ziheng is your fiancé? Can he be trusted? You have not seen each other for 3 years. This marriage is still uncertain. Lu Qingyu seemed to be indicating something, but Soo-won regarded it as Lu Qingyu was trying to promote himself and make fun of her. Soo-won was angry within, but she wore a smile on her face. At least for the time being, she couldn't afford to offend this playboy young master. Without him, she could not enter her house. Soo-won didn't want to continue discussing love affairs with Lu Qingyu, so she waved her hand and changed the topic. Master Lu, I've just returned. The security guard doesn't recognize me. Could you please bring me in? Lu Qingyu raised his eyebrows and opened the door in a gentlemanly manner. It's my honor to bring a pretty lady along. Hop on. Soo-won took a glance at the sapphire blue Infiniti sports car and showed a slight smile. I think I'd better sit behind. I'm afraid I'll be car sick if I sit at the co-driver's seat. She did not have enough courage to sit beside Lu Qingyu. He was known to have had sex with girls in the car in high school. Anyway, Lu Qingyu was complicated, and she'd better keep her distance. Sensing her cautiousness, Lu Qingyu didn't mind. He liberally agreed, as you wish. The security guard was terrified as he listened to their conversation. It was obvious that both of them had known one another earlier. Those who lived in Cloud Shadow Villa were either rich or eminent personages. How could he afford to offend these young masters and young misses? When Soo-won did not blame him, the security guard quickly let the car through. While driving, Lu Qingyu kept trying to bring Soo-won into conversations. Looks like it's going to rain. Soo-won replied absent-mindedly, Yup. While she was replying, she was looking out of the car window. The sky was turning dark and the plants on the hills seemed thicker and greener. The luxurious private mansions were situated on the scenic hill. No matter how luring he was, Soo-won only replied briefly. So Lu Qingyu decided not to talk but to focus on his steering wheel. After a while, Soo-won saw the Soo residence. The vintage wrought iron gate was opened. The words Jang Yuan atop the mansion were sparkling like gems, drawing attention. Lu Qingyu stopped his car and chivalrously opened the car door for Soo-won. Soo-won raised her head to look at him and said, Thank you for taking me home. You may just leave me here and take your leave since you're busy. However, out of Su Wan's expectation, Lu Qingyu did not plan to leave. Instead, he smiled and said, "Su Wan, how can you chase me away after using me? We are at your doorstep, don't you want to invite me into your house?" What a shameless man. Su Wan frowned slightly, but she unfolded her creases very quickly. "How can it be so? Since Master Lu has requested, let's go in together." Lu Qingyu could sense Su Wan's reluctance, but his smile was unaffected. He walked behind Su Wan. The moment she walked into the courtyard, she saw a silver Pagani and a cherry-red Cayenne. The sight was eye-catching. Had her grandfather changed his car? It was quite impossible. Grandfather liked low-profile cars like the Phaeton. Even if he were to go for another brand, he wouldn't pick warm luxury colors like silver and cherry red. Maybe there were guests. Su Wan lowered her eyes as if deep in thought. She walked past the entrance, and before she reached the living hall, she could hear laughter from inside. "We're about to become one family. You don't have to be so courteous." "Grandfather, you may cut the formalities, let's eat." "Ziheng, you like to eat steamed codfish with plum, don't you? Try and see if this is authentic. How does it taste? Is it delicious?" What did it mean they were about to become one family? Su Wan was extremely puzzled. She heard a woman's voice mentioning Ziheng. Su Wan's eyes brightened. Had Gu Ziheng come to Jiang Yuan today? No wonder there were a few more cars outside. Su Wan's heart soared when she thought of the possibility. She quickened her pace, but just as she was about to call his name, the sight that welcomed her caused her words to be stuck in her throat. She hadn't seen Gu Ziheng in 3 years, and now his features had matured. Compared to the time when he was in high school, he looked more handsome now. Su Wan couldn't ignore the sight of a woman nestled in Gu Ziheng's embrace and gently hammering his shoulders with her delicate hands. Although she couldn't see the woman's face, Su Wan could see the affection in Gu Ziheng's eyes laced with a sense of protection. For a moment, Su Wan felt the sky falling and the earth cracking. She couldn't accept this eye-catching scene. Su Wan's shoulders were trembling slightly, and her eyes were almost filled with tears. Was this man her fiancé, Gu Ziheng? Su Wan's legs weakened and she lost her balance. Luckily, Lu Qingyu caught her and took the opportunity to whisper sarcastically, "Are you satisfied with your fiancé?" Su Wan ignored Lu Qingyu. She brushed his hand off her shoulder and walked to the front with difficulty. At the same time, the other people who were conversing merrily noticed Su Wan and Lu Qingyu, who was standing behind her. They stopped and gaped at them. The time seemed to have frozen for 2 seconds. Su Wan saw Gu Ziheng, who was immersed in his own world with the woman, finally turn his head. His gaze met Su Wan's gaze, and Gu Ziheng's expression changed. He was obviously stunned, but even so, he did not push the woman in his embrace away. Su Wan bit her lips. How would Gu Ziheng explain the scene to her? If the reasons were reasonable, she would choose to believe him. However, before Gu Ziheng could speak, the woman in Gu Ziheng's embrace turned her head toward Su Wan when she sensed that something was not right. How could it be her? That moment the woman turned her head. Su Wan's eyes widened at the pretty face, and she froze. What could be harder to swallow than the joint betrayal of her fiancé and her cousin's sister? The atmosphere turned extremely cold. The initial laughter and merry atmosphere in the hall had all died down. Su Wan was shocked by the sight of Gu Ziheng and the woman in his embrace. Despite the huge blow, Su Wan's mind was calm. She shifted her gaze away from her fiancé and her cousin's sister, and her eyes started to sweep across everyone else in the hall. It was indeed a family feast. Her grandparents, cousin's sister, uncle, and fiancé were all there. Su Wan's heart was getting colder. Apparently, Su Yuru and Gu Ziheng's intimate relationship was one which had been approved by them. Maybe she was the outsider in the eyes of her loved ones. Gu Ziheng regained his senses and asked, "Wan, why did you come back so early? Weren't you still in Dongchen country?" Just then, Su Yuru interrupted quickly. Her smile had not changed, and that instant, her eyes emitted a sense of yearning. "Wan, why didn't you inform us you're coming home? Aren't you too wayward? You didn't give us time to get ready. Suyuru's voice was sweet, and just with a few words, she had easily defined her behavior as wayward, irresponsible. To Su-won, only her grandfather and grandmother were staying in Jaeyang-yuan. She didn't want to trouble the old folks and hence came back herself, ready to spring a surprise on them, but what she had in return was this kind of shock. Su-won's chest tightened and took a deep breath. She forced back the tears welling in her eyes. Sis Yuru, if I had informed you, would I have missed the exciting scene today? All of you are discussing your marriage with Ziheng behind my back. Unexpectedly, her grandfather, Su Heng, was the first to stand up to reprimand her. Su Heng looked at Su Wan in disapproval with his cold face. He said, "Wan, you've just reached home. Don't make a scene here. We have guests. Don't let others see our family dispute." Su Yuru looked at Su Wan with concern and added, "Yes, Wan, I understand how you feel right now, but this matter is complicated. We will explain to you later. Don't make a scene now." Even Gu Ziheng looked as if he didn't approve of her behavior. "Wan, don't throw a tantrum like a child." Gu Ziheng still had the voice of a broadcaster, but now Su Wan did not have the mood to admire it. She gawked at him with her pale look. All her blood seemed to have frozen at that moment. So, in their eyes, her return today was a joke, and she was merely making a scene and throwing tantrum like a small kid. As a bystander, Lu Qingyu smiled faintly. His amorous eyes were devilish. "I didn't expect to watch such a family dispute. It's worth my visit today." Upon hearing this, Su Wan's uncle, also Su Yuru's father, Su Jiankai, stood up. He said in his cold voice, "Mr. Lu, Sheng Ran Group and your Lu Group have been practicing mutual respect all this while. Whatever happens today is between the Su and the Gu family. You are an outsider. Please do not step in." "What if I say I would like to step in?" Lu Qingyu took a glance at Su Jiankai, then at Su Wan, who was standing in front of him. He saw Su Wan's trembling body. Her eyes glared at Gu Ziheng and Su Yuru, who were leaning very closely to one another. She saw nothing but red, but was trying very hard to control her emotions, not allowing her tears to fall. Seeing her like this, a slight sense of pity flashed through Lu Qingyu's heart. He wanted to say something, but suddenly, his phone vibrated. Lu Qingyu read the message on his phone and his expression changed. Lu Qingyu looked helplessly at Su Wan. "There's an emergency I have to settle. I can't help you now. Su Wan, all the best." Then Lu Qingyu left. Su Wan had never planned to seek the playboy's help. She closed her eyes slowly, then reopened them when she was calmer. However, her hands were still tightly clung together. "The unrelated person is gone. Now, Ziheng, can you and Sis Yuru give me an explanation?" Hearing Su Wan's interrogation, Su Yuru bit her lips slightly, and she looked helplessly at the tall and handsome Gu Ziheng who was beside her. Gu Ziheng stroked Su Yuru's hair as if to pacify her and looked apologetically at Su Wan. "I'm sorry, Wan. Yuru and I did you wrong. I wanted to tell you the truth but didn't know how to voice it out." Su Wan saw the little intimate gestures between Gu Ziheng and Su Yuru and thought these scenes were familiar. There was a throbbing pain in her heart and unconsciously, her thumb dug into her palm. "So, while you were courting my sister, you poured your heart out to me via emails." Gu Ziheng looked at Su Wan's dull eyes cautiously and didn't know what to say. Su Yuru could feel Gu Ziheng's stiffness. She bit her lips, and a sense of struggle and sadness flashed through her eyes. "Wan, don't be overbearing. Ziheng had wanted to explain to you clearly earlier on, but he was afraid to break your heart. That's why he has been pretending till now. We did not expect you to come back so early." She was the one who had been betrayed by her lover and relative, but why did she become the bad person? Su Wan never knew the pain one could suffer. "If you truly care about me and are afraid to hurt me, you wouldn't be together." Su Heng, who was silent initially, could bear it no further. He hit the table, and his usual kind voice was now very unpleasant to the ears. "Enough, Wan, don't you find it shameful? Keep calm. What's done is done. Ziheng and Yuru love one another. You'd better not force the two of them anymore." They loved one another, What about her and Gu Ziheng? Hadn't they loved one another too in the past? As if understanding Su Wan's thoughts, Gu Ziheng looked at her painfully. His voice was gloomy. Wan, you were young back then. I actually treated you as my little sister. It's in the past now. Yuru is mine now. Upon hearing this, Su Wan's body froze. Her glistening almond eyes lost their light. What could she do? She was about to lose Gu Ziheng, a fiancé who had promised to treat her well all his life. Su Wan lowered her head and laughed bitterly. Just as everyone gazed at one another, Su Wan dashed out of the door. Heavy rain finally poured mercilessly onto the apathetic world. Before anyone could respond, they lost sight of the person who ran away in distraught.